The letter came on a Tuesday morning. It went through the mail slot of Jessica Martinez's apartment in South Boston really easily. Jessica Martinez was in a hurry to get to the door. She was already running behind schedule for her job at Cornerstone Books. Jessica Martinez had been working at Cornerstone Books for 5 years. It is a bookstore where people who love books go to buy them. Jessica Martinez was supposed to be at Cornerstone Books 15 minutes, but she was late. Jessica grabbed her leather bag and her coffee mug, then she stopped. There was something about the seal on that envelope that made her feel bad. The United States District Court envelope made her stomach feel weird. She could not figure out why. Jessica picked it up with fingers that were shaking. Her brown eyes looked at the return address. It said United States District Court, District of Massachusetts. The United States District Court envelope was really bothering her. Her coffee mug fell out of her hand, and coffee went over the hardwood floor, making a big brown spot. She did not even see it. This was much. Her coffee mug was making a mess. She was not paying attention. This could not be happening to her. Not at this time. Not when her life was getting better after a time of being really tough for her. Her life was finally getting stable. Now this was happening to her. 20 minutes later, Jessica sat in the waiting area of the courthouse. She had her hands twisted together in her lap. They were twisted tightly that her knuckles had turned white. The federal courthouse building was really something. It was all marble. It felt very official. The sounds in the building echoed off the ceilings. This made Jessica feel very small. She had put on her dress. It was a navy dress. She had bought this dress at a thrift store. She bought it for her college graduation. That was 4 years ago. Jessica did not have professional clothes. This navy blue dress was the one she had that looked nice. The dress was a bit too big on her now. It hung loose on her body after she had been skipping meals for months to pay the rent. She had lost weight. The dress did not fit her slender frame like it used to. The months of skipping meals had really taken a toll on her body. Now the dress was too big for her. Miss Martinez. A woman walked into the room. She was wearing a nice gray suit. Her face did not show emotion, but her eyes were very sharp. They seemed to be checking everything out. Judge Blackwell will see you now. Jessica walked behind her down a hallway with pictures of men in black robes on the walls. These men looked really stern. They seemed to be watching Jessica with their eyes, even though they were paintings. They stopped in front of a door that was made of a red wood. The woman knocked on the door 2 times. Then she opened it. The door was made of cherry wood. Jessica saw this as the woman pushed the door open. The office beyond was what Jessica had expected, and it was even worse than that. There were floor-to-ceiling bookshelves packed with books, a huge HS desk that seemed like it had seen a lot of important things happen, and big windows that looked out over the city with a view that made you think about people who have a lot of power and money. None of that stuff really mattered when Jessica saw the man who was standing up as she walked in. The man in the office. The man in the office was what really caught her attention. Theodore Blackwell is a tall guy. He is easily 6 feet 3 inches tall. He has this way of being in a room that makes you feel like he is everywhere. Theodore Blackwell has hair with some gray in it right at the sides of his head, and it is cut pretty short. He wears a charcoal suit that looks great on him. Theodore Blackwell has gray eyes that are very striking. They seem to see right through you. There are lines on his face, around his eyes, and his mouth, the kind of lines that people get from making choices and dealing with. What happens after that? Sit down, Miss Martinez. The man's voice was really deep. He sounded like he was in charge. You could tell he was from Boston. He did not sound like it too much. He probably tried to get rid of that Boston way of talking. Jessica sat in the leather chair across from his desk. She felt really nervous, like she was in trouble and was about to get in more trouble. Jessica's hands would not stop shaking, so she pressed them against her thighs under the table where he could not see them. This way Jessica could try to calm down a bit and hide how scared she was. Jessica was sitting there feeling like she was waiting for something to happen to her. Theodore went back to his chair and pulled a big folder towards him. He said, "I am going to tell you everything because I think you are scared and there is no reason to make you wait." He opened the folder and Jessica saw some papers that made her feel really bad. Your father, Robert Martinez, died 6 months ago. Is that right? Theodore asked Jessica about her father, Robert Martinez. He wanted to know if it was true that Robert Martinez had died 6 months ago. Yes, Jessica whispered. Her father was gone. He died in a car crash. This left Jessica with nothing. The only thing she got was money from a life insurance policy. This small amount of money was just enough to pay for her father's funeral. Before your father died, he was part of a real estate investment scheme. We found out that he was not the one who came up with the plan. He was involved in cheating investors out of a lot of money, about $8 million. Theodore looked at her, with his eyes waiting to see how she would react. He said, "Your name is on papers that have to do with starting the investment company. We have papers with your signature on them, your identification, and even your social security number." The room felt like it was turning down. Jessica grabbed the arms of the chair to stop herself from falling. She said, "I never signed anything like that. My father asked me to sign some papers for him 3 years. He told me it was for a loan to start a property management company. I was in college at that time. I trusted my father completely. My father said it was for a business loan. I believed him." Theodore said that when you sign something like this, you are basically helping to do something. Theodore leaned back in his chair, looked at her very closely, which made her feel like he could see right through her. You could get in trouble for working with someone to do something, for cheating people over the phone or internet, and for hiding money that you got from doing something wrong. If you go to court, the rules say that you will have to go to prison for at least 10 to 15 years. Tears were welling up in Jessica's eyes. She was not going to let them fall. She had already cried much over the last 6 months, and she was still sad about her father. She had loved her father much, even though he was not perfect. "I did not know what was going on," Jessica said. "I promise you I had no idea what my father was really doing. I work at a bookstore, that is my job. I make $28,000 a year, which is not a lot of money. I can barely pay my rent, so I do not have a lot of money. Does it sound like I stole millions of dollars? I do not think so, because I am a simple person who works at a bookstore, where I sell books to people, and I make a small salary, $28,000 a year." Theodore's face changed for a second. It was so fast that Jessica almost did not see it. She thought maybe he felt doubt, or maybe he realized something was true. Then Theodore was quiet. For a long time his fingers tapped the desk. One time, the man said that there is something that can be done instead of going to court. He spoke slowly and carefully. "This other option needs you to help with something that has nothing to do with what happened to your father." Hope sparked in Jessica's chest. It was a feeling, and it hurt a lot. What kind of alternative is there for Jessica? Theodore stood up, walked over to the window. He had his back to her while he looked out at the Boston skyline. "I have enemies, Miss Martinez," he said. "These are people who want to get rid of me. They want to make sure I am not a judge anymore. They want to hurt my reputation, or even worse. I've gotten some real threats that I could be killed. The people who are supposed to keep me safe think I need something to make my life seem normal. They call it a normalization factor. This means I need someone to make it look like I am not alone all the time. I need to seem predictable, so it is harder for someone to hurt me. Theodore needs this person to make him appear isolated. Theodore wants to be safer." He turned around to face her. The look on his face was really hard to figure out. He said, "I need a wife. I need a marriage that looks real to people who might be watching us. If you do this for me, I will make sure that all the trouble your father is in just goes away. You will not have any problems because of what your father did. You will get $5,000 every month to take care of yourself. After 1 year, you will get a lot of money, $300,000. We will get a divorce without anyone making a big deal about it." Jessica looked at him, thinking she must have gotten it wrong. "You want me to marry you? A federal judge like you wants to get married to someone like me when you are basically forcing me to do it." Theodore said this in a voice. "I like to think that we both get something out of this deal. You do not have to go to prison. I get to look like a person with a family. Nobody thinks that Judge Blackwell, a man who likes to be alone, will marry someone like you. This will look like a strange love story, which is why people will think it is real. Judge Blackwell gets to seem like a person, which is what I want. This marriage will make me look normal. That is what I need. Judge Blackwell will be safe because nobody will suspect anything. This is crazy. Jessica got up fast, her chair making a loud noise on the floor. There must be something I can do. I could get a lawyer fight these charges against me. The charges, Theodore said. Where will you get the money to pay for a lawyer? He did not sound mean. If you have a defender, they have to fight against the federal prosecutors. They have all the money they need. The proof against you is very strong. It does not matter what you are trying to do. I have looked at every page of your case. You will not win. The evidence against you is substantial. You will lose with a defender against federal prosecutors. With unlimited resources, the truth of his words felt really heavy on her. It was like someone had put a blanket on her that she could not get out from under. She did not have any money. She did not have any connections that could help her. She did not have any way to fight this thing that was happening to her. Her whole life could be ruined because she had believed her father 3 years ago. At that time, she was a college student. She was very trusting. Why do I have to be the one? She asked in a voice. You have the option to marry anyone you want. There are plenty of people in your social circle who would be a good match for you and fit in with the people you know. Theodore said this to me in a straightforward way. He told me that I owe him my freedom. I do not have any power to go against him or ask for things that are not part of our deal. The situation looks good for him. If a federal judge marries the daughter of a man who did something, it looks complicated. If people hear about it in a way it can even seem like a noble thing, people will think that Theodore saw that I am innocent. He fell in love with me even though my father did something bad. Theodore and I are in this situation, and people will think that he chose to be with me. The way it looks is that Theodore is a person. For marrying me, the daughter of a man involved in fraud, Jessica walked to the window, pressed her forehead against the cool glass. The city was still there. People were walking around, going to work, doing their thing like nothing was wrong. Jessica thought about her apartment. It is an apartment and her job. At the bookstore, she really loves her job at the bookstore. She loves the life of books and coffee. It is a simple life. A life of books and coffee and simplicity, her life of books and coffee. She thought about prison. She thought about what it would be like to be locked from everything and everyone. She thought about her mother who lives in Arizona. Her mother has her struggles. Now her mother would have to deal with the fact that her daughter's behind bars in prison. She thought about how this would affect her mother. Prison would be a change for her and her mother. Jessica said this slowly. She was still looking out at the city. If I agree, she said, I want some conditions of my own. Jessica really wanted to make this clear. About the conditions she was thinking of for herself, the conditions of her own. I am sitting here. I am listening. She turned to face him. I want the medical expenses for my mother to be taken care of. My mother has lupus, and the treatments for my mother's lupus are really expensive. I want this to be written down, not something you say. I want to be able to keep working at the bookstore for at least 6 months. I need something in my life to stay the same, like my job at the bookstore, so I can feel normal again, like everything is okay with my mother's lupus and my job. At the bookstore, Theodore thought about this for a moment, looking really thoughtful. The health insurance is okay. The job at the bookstore is a bit more of a problem when it comes to security. We can talk about it. What is there to think about? What other jobs are there, like the bookstore job? Jessica said, I want respect, in a voice which surprised her because she did not know she could be so bold. She thought to herself that this was a business deal. That did not mean she was going to let people treat her badly. Jessica felt that even though they were pretending to be married, people should still treat her like a person. Basic respect is something that Jessica thought was very important. She was not going to give it up. Jessica wanted to make it clear that she would not be treated like something you could just buy or use, because that is not what she was. Theodore's face showed something that might have been approval for the time. He said, I agree. My attorney is going to make a contract that says everything we agreed on. We are going to get married in 2 weeks. The wedding will be small. It will be official. There will be a few people there to make sure everything is legitimate. The ceremony will have Theodore's attorney and a few other key people to witness the marriage between Theodore and his bride. Theodore wants to make sure that his marriage is official and legitimate. Jessica nodded slowly. It was like she was seeing herself do things. It was not really her doing them. Then I accept, Jessica said. She was talking about accepting something, the thing that was being offered to her, and Jessica was saying yes to it. Theodore reached out across the desk with his hand. Jessica took Theodore's hand. His handshake was firm and warm, but it did not feel personal at all. This was the kind of handshake you have when you are making a business deal, not when you are getting married. That made the situation feel even worse for Jessica and Theodore. Theodore's handshake made it clear that this was a business arrangement. For Theodore, Jessica walked out of his office 20 minutes later. She was in a daze as she walked through the courthouse. Jessica had just agreed to marry a man she did not know. This man was known over Boston as a judge who was very tough. The judge showed no feelings when he sent people to jail. Jessica would live in the judge's house. She would go to events with the judge and people would think she was his wife. Jessica would be living a life that was not real. It was all a show. The judge's life was made up. Jessica would be a part of it. The air outside was really cool on Jessica's cheeks, which were pretty red. She got out her phone, looked at it for a bit before she finally called her manager at the bookstore. She told her manager at the bookstore that she needed the rest of the day off because something was going on with her family. Jessica had to take care of this family thing, so that is why she could not go back to the bookstore. This was not a lie. The situation was an emergency, not the type of emergency that people would understand if she tried to tell them about it. It was a strange emergency. 2 weeks. She had 2 weeks before her life changed completely. 2 weeks before she became Mrs. Theodore Blackwell, wife of the most feared judge in Boston, bound by contract to a man she did not know and definitely did not love. For months had gone by since Jessica Martinez became Jessica Blackwell. This all happened at a ceremony. It was just like Theodore said it would be, small and simple. A friend of Theodore's who was a judge did the ceremony in a room at the courthouse. 2 lawyers were there to sign the papers. Jessica Blackwell wore a cream-colored dress she picked out the day before the wedding. Theodore Blackwell wore a dark suit that he always wears. The whole thing was over in 20 minutes. Jessica Blackwell and Theodore Blackwell were married in a quick ceremony. Now winter had really arrived in Boston with its big snowfall. Jessica was standing in the kitchen of Theodore's townhouse in Beacon Hill. She was looking out the window, watching the snow pile up on the windowsill. The house was really nice. It felt kind of cold and empty, like a museum. It had high ceilings and old furniture. There was a lot of artwork on the walls, probably worth more than Jessica used to earn in a whole year. Everything in the house was arranged so, and it all felt very impersonal. It was like nobody actually lived in Theodore's Beacon Hill. It's a townhouse, like it was a showplace or something. She still worked at the bookstore. Theodore's security team took her to work, brought her back home every day. Her daily routine was pretty simple now. She would wake up in the guest bedroom that Theodore said she could use. This was even though the rules said they had to share a room if any of the household staff was around. She would have breakfast. It was usually quiet, or they would just say a few words to each other. Then Theodore would go to the courthouse. After that, the security team would take Jessica to Cornerstone Books. She liked working at the bookstore because for 8 hours, she could pretend that her life was still the way it used to be. Jessica felt like she could be herself at Cornerstone Books. The evenings were really tough. We would have dinner together at the wooden table, and Theodore would often look over his work papers between courses. He would ask me about my day. I would give him short answers. Then he would tell me a bit about his work, but he would always leave out the important parts. After dinner, we would go to our rooms and live our own lives, even though we were in the same house. Theodore would do his thing. I would do mine. We were like 2 people living lives under the same roof, just like Theodore and I. Where something had changed with Theodore in the few weeks. Little things that Jessica tried to overlook. She just could not. The way Theodore was asking Jessica about the books Jessica was reading. He was actually paying attention when Jessica told him what the stories were about. Theodore had also taken care of Jessica's mother's bills. He paid them all off 3 months early without saying a word to Jessica until Jessica found out by chance. Theodore had done this without telling Jessica. That was really something. The coffee that showed up on the kitchen counter every morning was made the way she liked it. This was pretty cool because Theodore liked his coffee black. The coffee was always made right for her, which was really nice. She liked her coffee away, and that is how the coffee was made every morning. Theodore's voice came from the doorway. This startled her out of her thoughts. "You are up late," he said. Jessica turned around. He was standing there wearing pajama pants and a simple white t-shirt. This was very different from what she was used to seeing. Usually he wore suits that made him look powerful. Now he just looked like a regular person. He did not seem like the judge that everyone was afraid of. His hair was a little messy. He looked really tired. This tired look made Jessica feel something in her chest that she did not expect to feel. The judge looked like Jessica could actually talk to him now. Jessica saw the judge in a way. The judge was like a human being and less like a person in a position of power. "The snow is really pretty," she said. "I like the snow. The snow is beautiful. When I lived in those neighborhoods, we did not get much snow. The streets were always dirty. You could not really enjoy the snow because the streets were too dirty to walk on. I like looking at the snow. The snow is nice." Theodore walked into the kitchen, got himself a glass of water from the filter thing in the fridge. "I am from South Boston, too," he said in a voice. "This was before I went to law school, before all of this happened. My father had a job at the shipyards. My mother would clean people's houses. I know what it is like to see the snow coming down and worry if you will have heat when you wake up in the morning." Theodore thought about his life in South Boston, how it was really tough. Theodore remembers what it was like to watch the snow fall and wonder if he would have heat in the morning. Jessica looked at him with a lot of surprise. For 4 months, he had never told her anything about where he came from. She thought he must have grown up with a lot of money, that his family was the kind that had people in it like federal judges, and that was just a normal thing. Jessica thought about this, because she had never really known much about his background before now, and this was making her think about the kind of family he might have had, a family that would naturally produce judges. A woman wanted to know how someone got from one place to that place. She asked a question. The woman said, "How did you get from there to here?" Theodore leaned against the counter. His gray eyes were away, thinking about the past. "Scholarships and student loans," he said. Theodore only finished paying off his student loans 5 years. He had to work 3 jobs to get through college and law school. Theodore also felt angry. He was angry at the system that made life tough for people like his parents. No matter how hard they worked, they still struggled. Theodore thought that if he could be part of the system, he could make it better. He wanted to change the system that made life hard for people like his parents. Theodore felt angry about this for a time. Jessica asked that in a soft voice. "Did you change it?" she was asking. "Some days, I think that is true. Days I feel like I am just another part of the system that hurts people." He put down his glass hard. "Today I had to send a woman to prison for 1.5 years for cheating on welfare. She took $7,000 over 2 years to give her kids food because her ex-husband would not pay to help take care of them, and she did not have money to get by. The law said what she did was wrong. The law said she should be punished. My mind kept going to my mother. I thought about what my mother might do if my mother was really desperate. My mother could have done the thing if my mother had been in a tough spot and my mother did not know what else to do." Jessica took a step closer to him without thinking about it. She was really moved by the hurt in his voice. "You gave her the amount of time you could, did you not?" Theodore looked at her sharply. He said, "How did you know that thing about her?" Theodore was wondering how she knew that. Jessica said, "That is the kind of person you are. You do what the law says. You also try to be kind when you can. I have been looking at your cases on the internet. A lot of people think you are really tough. The sentences you give are usually on the low side. You are not as mean as people say you are. The law is important to you. You also try to show mercy when you can. Your sentences are an example of that. They are almost always at the lower end of what the law says is okay." A weak look crossed Theodore's face. "You have been reading about my cases?" Jessica felt her face get really warm. She said, "I wanted to know the man I married, even if we were only married on paper. What I found out is that he is someone who worries about every single thing he decides. who stays up at night thinking about the people he cares about. That is not someone who does not care, Theodore. The man I married is actually a caring person. The space between Theodore and the woman seemed to get smaller. Theodore reached out slowly so the woman would have time to step back if she wanted to. He brushed a strand of her dark hair away from her face. His fingers stayed against her cheek for a moment. They felt warm and gentle against her skin. Theodore was being very careful with the woman. The man said this to me in a voice. He told me that I am not what he thought I would be. You are not what I expected, he said quietly. What did you really expect to happen in this situation? You have to think about what you did and how it would turn out. I mean, what did you expect would be the result of your actions? You should have thought about what you were doing and what you expected to get from it. I do not want someone who will take the money and be angry with me for the year. I do not want someone who will wait for the divorce and the money they will get. His thumb touched her face, tracing along her jaw. I want someone who's nice to me, like someone who tells bad jokes at breakfast to make me happy. I like someone who leaves notes in my bag reminding me to have lunch. I like someone who looks at me like I am a person. Like the money divorced person is not the person I am looking for someone. Like my money divorced person is not someone who makes me feel special, someone like the person who leaves notes and tells jokes. That is the person I want. Someone who thinks I am worth knowing. Like my partner who looks at me and makes me feel good. Jessica's breath caught. Theodore. I was really going to say something to Theodore. The words just would not come out of my mouth when I looked at Theodore. The alarm on Theodore's phone went off. That was it. Theodore stepped back away. His face. He looked at the message. It is my security team, Theodore said. They are telling me something has happened, and they need to talk to me about it. I have to answer this call from my security team. He walked out of the kitchen fast, and Jessica was by herself in the warm light. The light from the ceiling made everything feel cozy. Her heart was beating fast. Jessica touched the place on her face where his hand had been. She could still feel how warm his skin was when it touched her skin. Jessica was thinking about the kitchen, how it felt when he was there with her, and now he was gone. The kitchen felt empty without him. This was not how things were supposed to go. She was only supposed to think of him as the man who forced her into a marriage. She started to see him in a different way. She liked that he brought her treats from the Italian bakery when he came home from work. It was nice that he did that. She also noticed that he looked really tired all the time because of his job and having to deal with a lot of things. The man and his job were taking a toll on him. She was starting to care about the man and what he was going through. She was not supposed to be falling for him. This was not how things were supposed to go. The thing is, she was actually falling for him, and it was pretty scary. She was falling for this guy. She did not know what to do about it. The feeling of falling for him was something she could not ignore. It was all about him. The morning Jessica woke up to someone knocking really hard on her bedroom door. Jessica, we have to go now. Theodore's voice sounded really serious. He was trying not to sound too worried. She quickly put on some clothes, ran downstairs. Theodore was already waiting for her with 2 men from his security team. Theodore's face looked really serious. The woman wanted to know what happened. She asked this question because she was really curious about something. The woman said what happened, and she was waiting for an answer. About what was going on with the thing that happened to the people involved in the situation of what happened. Someone sent a threat to the courthouse. They actually said your name. My security team thinks the person who did this has been keeping an eye on us and learning more about us. We have to go to a place until they can figure out how much danger you are in. We need to get you to a house right now because of this threat. To the courthouse, and your name being mentioned. Fear flooded through Jessica. She thought to herself, they know about Jessica. Jessica is just a regular person. Jessica does not understand why they would even care about. Jessica. Theodore said it out. They know that hurting you would hurt me. So that makes you a target. I am sorry, Jessica. I never meant for you to really be in danger. Jessica, I feel terrible about this. They are using you to get to me. That is not fair to Jessica. The safe house was a condo in Cambridge. It was a place that nobody knew about. It was very secure. Jessica and Theodore had to stay inside this condo for 3 whole days. During this time, Theodore's security team was working hard with some federal marshals to find out who was making all these threats against him. They did not have any phones that they could use, except for some secure lines. They were not allowed to use the internet at all. They could not talk to anyone from the world. That situation should have been really tough to handle. It actually turned out to be the most honest moment they had ever shared together. They were finally being completely honest with each other. That was really something. The time they spent together was the honest time they had spent together. They had a conversation. Theodore and Jessica actually talked to each other. Theodore shared with Jessica that he lost his father to a heart attack when he was in law school. He felt bad about not being with his father when he died because he was busy studying for the bar exam. Jessica opened up to Theodore about her father too. She said she loved her father, even though he was not perfect. Jessica also told Theodore that she felt hurt when she found out what her father had done. Theodore and Jessica really talked about their feelings and their families. Theodore and his friend cooked together in the kitchen. They had a good time laughing when Theodore said he had no idea how to make anything that did not come from a restaurant. Theodore and his friend watched movies on the television. They sat close on the couch and their shoulders were touching. Theodore and his friend played cards. They argued about politics. They found out that they both loved puns. Theodore and his friend had a lot of fun together. Theodore and the girl were sitting together on the night. They were watching the lights of Cambridge outside the window. The lights were twinkling, and it was really pretty. Theodore took the girl's hand. He was holding the girl's hand. They were still watching the lights of Cambridge. "When this year comes to an end," he said in a voice, "the contract says that the artist is free to leave. The contract says that he will give the artist the money they agreed on, and then they will go their ways. The artist and he will be done with each other." Jessica's throat got all tight. "I remember what happened," Jessica said, thinking about it again. Jessica remembered things that she did not want to think about. "Theodore said to me, 'I want to give you a choice.' He put his fingers through mine. 'This is a choice. You are not making it because you are scared or someone is making you do it. When the year is over, you can take everything we talked about. I will also be very thankful for what you gave up for me. You can stay with me. You can stay because you want to, not because you have to. This thing between us, whatever it is, might be something, and we can see where it goes. You can stay if you think it is worth trying." Jessica turned to look at him. She saw the vulnerability in his eyes. She saw the fear that she would choose to leave him. "What if I do not want to wait until the year ends to decide about us?" Theodore's face changed to a look. He said, "What do you mean by that?" "I am telling you that at some point in the 4 months this whole thing stopped feeling fake to me." Jessica squeezed his hand. "I am telling you that I really see you, Theodore. I do not see the judge or the contract or the arrangement we made. I see you. What I see is someone I could really care about if you would just let me." Jessica. Her name was almost a prayer on his lips. She said, "This is really hard to understand. We did everything backwards. We started with a lot of stress, being scared, and we had to sign papers. Sometimes people make good relationships even when things are bad at first. The thing is, people build relationships on worse things. So we could try to make this work. We could see if what we have, our relationship, is really real. We could try to figure out if our relationship's something good." Theodore pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. He had been waiting for weeks to hear her say that. Theodore needed her to choose it on her own without feeling like she had to do it. He wanted her to really mean it without any pressure from him. Theodore just wanted it to be her decision. It's not something she did because of him. Jessica whispered that she wanted this, Jessica said. Jessica chose the person she was talking to. Jessica really wanted to be with that person. When he kissed her, it was not like that kiss they had at their wedding. This time it was real. It was a kiss, and it had a lot of feeling in it. They had been holding back their feelings for a time, for months. This kiss was like he was making a promise to her. It was like he was asking her something. It was like he was giving her an answer all at the same time. The kiss was a promise and a question and an answer all at once. A kiss from him. To her, the security team took care of the problem 2 days later. This was a guy named Theodore that Jessica used to work with. He was a defendant she had sentenced years ago. Now he was in jail again. Jessica and Theodore went back to their house in Beacon Hill. The Beacon Hill townhouse was not the same. Everything had changed at the Beacon Hill townhouse. The guest bedroom is now a study. Jessica moved all her stuff into the master bedroom. She did this because she really wanted to be in, not because she had to. When they sat down to eat dinner, they actually talked to each other, shared things. They laughed together, really connected. Theodore started coming from work earlier. He did not want to miss out on time with Jessica. Jessica started going with him to work events. She did this because she wanted to be with him, not because she felt like she had to go. 6 months later, on a spring morning 1 year after their contract wedding, they stood in the same courthouse. This time around, they did not have to sign papers or do things just because they had to. They were at the courthouse to renew their wedding vows in front of Jessica's mother, Theodore's colleagues, and the friends that they had made since they got married. They wanted to do this in front of the people who mattered to them, like Jessica's mother and Theodore's colleagues and their friends, the judge asked. Theodore Blackwell, do you, Theodore Blackwell, take Jessica to be your wife? The one you will be married to for the rest of your life? Theodore said, I do, and his voice was steady. He was really sure about what he was saying. He kept looking at Jessica's face the time. Theodore did this because Jessica is the thing that has ever happened to him. He thinks that choosing her was the decision he ever made. Theodore really means it when he says that Jessica is the decision he ever made. Do you, Jessica Blackwell, promise to marry Theodore and be his wife for the rest of your life? You are saying that Theodore is the person you want to be with, and you are going to be his wife. You will be married to Theodore, will be your husband. Jessica smiled through tears. She said, I do. It was clear she really meant it. She was not doing it because she had to, because she wanted to. Jessica said she was making this choice today. She would make the same choice every day. The wedding of Jessica was really special because of the way she felt about her decision to marry. Jessica was happy to be marrying the person she loved. She was excited to spend the rest of her life with them. When the man and the woman kissed, it was like people were clapping for them and laughing. The man and the woman were hearing the sound of their love story. This love story had started in a strange way. Now the man and the woman had something real, something that was their love. For each other, the love story of the man and the woman. That evening, Jessica went back to their house, found Theodore in his study. He had a document in his hand that she knew well, the original contract that Jessica and Theodore had signed. Theodore was holding the contract, looking at it, the same contract that Jessica and Theodore had made together. The woman said, What are you doing? She really wanted to know what the person was up to. The woman asked this question because she was very curious about the person's activities. What are you doing? The woman asked again. Theodore looked up. He had a little smile on his face. I thought we should burn the paper, Theodore said. The paper served its purpose. We do not need the paper anymore. Jessica took the papers from his hands, read through the clauses that had once defined their entire relationship. The monthly payments and obligations and terms and conditions were all there. It all seemed cold to Jessica now, so like a business deal compared to the life they had built together. Jessica thought about the relationship and how it had changed. The papers did not seem to matter that much to Jessica. The relationship was what mattered to Jessica, not the payments or the terms and conditions. Wait, she said. I want to keep one thing. There is one clause that I really want to keep in this thing, the clause. Theodore raised an eyebrow, said, Which one of the things we were talking about are you asking me about? Jessica pointed to a line near the end. This one is the part that says the marriage will last 1 year. I want to change the marriage part that says it will last 1 year. To what? Jessica said it in a way. We will be together forever, she said. There is no day for us. We will not stop loving each other. We will just keep choosing each other, Jessica, and the person she loves for long as they both live. This is what Jessica wants to be, with the person she loves forever. Theodore pulled her into his arms, held her really close. That sounds like the contract I have ever agreed to, he said, and he was talking about the contract that they were discussing, and he thought the contract was really great. Theodore was happy. About the contract, they burned the papers in the fireplace and watched as the terms and conditions turned to ash. The marriage that rose from those ashes was something that neither of them had expected. When they first shook hands in that office, This marriage was built on the fact that they had a choice. They did not get married because they felt like they had to, because they wanted to. The marriage was not based on fear. It was based on love for each other. It was not based on a contract. On the promise that some of the best things in life come from the most unexpected beginnings. Like their marriage. The marriage was a thing that came from something unexpected. Just like they had promised each other, Jessica had walked into Theodore's office a year ago. She was really scared and felt stuck. But then she walked away from the fireplace that night, and she felt completely free, and she felt loved. The only things holding her back were the things she had picked for herself, the things that tied her to the people and the life she loved like Theodore. And in the end, that made all the difference.